Hello and welcome to the second annual Industrial Gamers Video Game Awards Show. I'd first like to thank all of you for watching and hope you all enjoyed the fantastic gaming year of 2012 as I have. But now it's time to pay our respect to all those games that were released. Some lived up to our expectations and even went beyond them. Some surprised the hell out of us. And others, unfortunately, didn't live up to the hype. Whatever the case may be, every year we as gamers save the world, get the girl, and kill millions of NPCs. So to respect, let's take a look at all the games that I played this year.
The Darkness 2. Binary Domain. Mass Effect 3. Prototype
2. Alright, I'm in.
Star
the Outcast. I'm ready to tango.
Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Future Soldier.
Bullet time is at the heart of Max Payne 3's gameplay.
Attempted evacuation ended in complete failure. Death toll, too many.
The Amazing Spider-Man.
You come in out of nowhere and suddenly our guys start to get arrested?
That's the attitude.
Handsome Jack.
Borderlands 2.
This tyrant will be the end of us all.
And then major cities all around the
Resident
world will suffer the same
6.
fate. At the hands of Neo Umbrella's very own.
Dishonored. Forza Horizon. Medal of Honor Warfighter.
The future of
Assassin's
our land
Creed.
depends on those.
Need for Speed Most Wanted. Halo 4.
Robots.
Call of Duty Black Ops 2.
Unmanned armies. And no one ever asks.
Hitman Absolution. Far Cry 3.
The only way off this island is to transform myself.
Alright, so those are all the games that I have played. 95% of those I have completed, but we won't dwell on which ones. So let's first establish the ground rules. Rule number 1, there will be 10 categories total, and a game can win in multiple categories. Rule number 2, 8 of the 10 categories are based on the campaign experience of the game. Multiplayer has its own category. And rule number 3, this is purely my opinion, so if you find yourself pissed off and yelling at your TV, just note that I can't hear you. I don't actually know what you're saying, and I'm not actually there to hear your complaints. So, note to self, shut up. Another thing to note is that this isn't a normal video game award show. You won't see a Game of the Year winner, but rather winnings of multiple games based in each category. Also, you won't see The Walking Dead in this show because I watched a playthrough of it and actually didn't play the full game. So with that being said, let's begin. Onward! Okay.
Number 5, Far Cry 3. So I
I was one of the few people that actually liked the multiplayer for this game. I thought it was fun. I mean, obviously it was not the main focus for the entire game, but I did think it was fun enough for me to go back and keep playing it. Especially with friends. Now, I actually, to this date, have not had an opportunity to check out the co-op mode. I was waiting for a couple friends to be available until I did that, but the overall competitive multiplayer aspect isn't awful. People were saying, you know, oh, it's just completely awful. And I don't know how the console versions are. I mean, this was the PC version, which for a while, you know, people were saying was, in terms of the quality of multiplayer, was the worst platform to play on. But, I mean, it was glitchy. I will say that. When I first got into the game, I mean, there were trees that were loaded in the sky. Like, literally trees that were loaded in the sky. And I took a picture of that and put it on Twitter if you want to see that for reference. And also, when there's lag, this game is, you know, it's just about unplayable because a lot of times you'll try to be firing at an enemy and he'll keep bouncing up and down on screen, and it's just crazy. However, there's been a couple patches, and now that I've actually, you know, went back to this game and played the multiplayer in the last couple days, you know, it doesn't handle like, you know, awful. It's very much playable. It's very much fun, and you know, I don't know why people are claiming, you know, this is like, they're saying like this is one of like the worst multiplayer modes ever. I just thought it was fun. I mean, it's not anything serious. It is definitely, it doesn't have the quality of like, you know, other AAA games, and you know, if you're going to you know, compare it to the campaign, I mean, it's not even comparable with the campaign's quality, but it is there. And it does what it does, you know, perfectly fine. It's a generic multiplayer mode, but it's still fun because of that, because of it has the Far Cry you know, theme to it. I really think if they had a beta, like an actual beta, like they said they were going to, they could have fixed all these problems. I mean, a lot of people claim, oh well, if you have a bad beta, then your game doesn't sell as well. Well, you know, that's not always true. In the case of Battlefield 3, that wasn't really a beta. They just released that a week prior to the actual game. And I was afraid that they were going to do that for this too, but they said, we're going to have a multiplayer beta and do this and that, and then they just never had, you know, the beta at all. I mean, people who bought Ghost Recon Future Soldier were promised beta codes at GameStop, and it just never happened. It's just a shame, because I was really looking forward to playing this game with its beta, so I was really kind of disappointed in that. However, it's still a really fun multiplayer mode, and I do go back to it from time to time. I like the whole decoding system. I think that works really well, and it's just definitely not as bad as it seems. It's definitely fun, and definitely deserves a spot in the top 5 most fun multiplayer games. Number 4, Call of Duty Black Ops 2. So Call of Duty Black Ops 2's multiplayer, definitely, I think deserves a spot on this list. Now, I really like the campaign of this game, and in particular, I just like the Black Ops series as a whole. I think it has great characters, you know, but that's all campaign-wise. Talking about multiplayer, I think the multiplayer, honestly, could have been a lot better. You know, I still go back, you know, time to time with this game, and I still have fun. You know, I can't deny that I don't have fun. You know, again, it's a lot of BS. You know, it is a lot of BS, and when you're playing this on a really crappy day that you're having, I mean, it's not going to make you feel any better. You know, there's just a lot of BS, and still to this day, it's a wonder how people just play this game and this game only. However, I really thought, my main issue with the Black Ops 2 multiplayer is that it just felt way too familiar to Modern Warfare 3's multiplayer, which was boring. I hated Modern Warfare 3's multiplayer. I actually forced myself to go max rank in Modern Warfare 3 multiplayer for really no apparent reason. A lot of people ask me, why don't you prestige in games, and, you know, even games that I enjoy I don't prestige in. And the answer is simple. I just simply don't see a point in it. I don't see the point in basically unlocking all this stuff and then trying to unlock it all again just to get some more weapon skins or a different, you know, clan tag or whatever. I just don't see the whole point in it. But, you know, prestiging is really a way for people to keep playing the game when they don't have a lot of games to play. You know, I can see that. I can see the kid who doesn't have a job, who gets games probably once every 3 or 4 months, you know, and you know, Call of Duty is his way of, you know, having fun all the time. When you can prestige, he's like, this is great. I can keep playing the game, and I can still be unlocking new stuff. You know, and that's fine. It just doesn't work for me like that. But I just felt like Call of Duty Black Ops 2's multiplayer was just way too familiar to Modern Warfare 3. And the reason is because they decided to go so close in the future. It's the near future, like, what is it, 2023 this game takes place in? It's the near future, and it works great for the campaign, but for the multiplayer, it's just way, way, way too familiar. You have some cool weapons there, but it's not enough for me to say, wow, this is like a completely different Call of Duty experience, you know? Even if the gameplay is the same, they could have changed it up with the, if they went like further into the future, you know? They could have had some really interesting maps and stuff like that. And I do like the maps, you know, that they give us. This one I particularly hate, but it is fun. And I just felt like it was way too familiar to Modern Warfare 3. But it is still Call of Duty. I still had fun with it. And yeah. Number 3. Medal of Honor Warfighter. So this game I was pleasantly surprised with. But also, at the same time, I was really surprised with the review scores for this game. You know, I played this game, I think, a month and a half after its release or something. No, it was a month after its release. And, you know, by that time, all the reviews were pretty much, all the critics were calling this, like, the worst first-person shooter of the year. I mean, people were giving this game 3s and 4s out of 10. And I played the game expecting a 3 or 4 out of 10, like everyone, you know, all these critics were saying. And I'm sorry, but I don't see how you can give this game anything below a 6.5 or even a 7, really. 7 would be like the lowest. 6.5 probably would be the lowest. And I just had I thought the campaign was decent. I kept trying to post up, yes, I know this is multiplayer beta footage, but this is the only one I could find up on YouTube that I had it in. I kept trying to upload multiplayer footage for this game, but my capture card kept glitching and fast forwarding through, so it was like a problem. But at the same time, I really liked the multiplayer, and it was kind of funny because I played the beta, the footage that you're seeing right now. I played this beta, and I said to myself, alright, it's okay, the multiplayer is okay, you know, the controls are very stiff, it's just okay, it's nothing special. And I didn't really, you know, enjoy the multiplayer as much as I thought I would. And then I played the full game's multiplayer, and I was like, wow, this is a lot of fun. I had no idea what happened, but it was just a lot of fun, you know? Maybe because I played it a month after its release and they took care of some glitches or whatever like that, but I just thought the multiplayer was a lot of fun. They had, you know, some cool maps, and I loved the weapon customization in multiplayer. Like, I was using, like, it was like some submachine gun, but it was awesome. You know, I kept using it, I was really fast, and I just can't deny how much fun I had. I love this multiplayer mode. I kept trying to post up videos of it, but, you know, that capture card was just glitching everywhere. So, I mean, I'm sorry. I was going to make a whole, like, a 30-minute video of just multiplayer. You know, and I was basically going to be talking about, you know, how much I like the multiplayer, but it just never happened because the capture card was glitching out, unfortunately. But since I can talk about it briefly here, I just thought it was a lot of fun. I think, you know, it controls really nicely. You know, once you get used to it, the controls are stiff at first, but it controls really nicely. I like the weapon customization is awesome, you know, but, and then, you know, some cool map design. Graphics are good. I just don't know why people are saying, like, oh my gosh, this game is like a 4 out of 10. It's like, what? Even from the campaign, you know, the campaign was decent. It wasn't anything special, but this game in no way is even close to a 4 out of 10. Come on, really? A 4 out of 10? I mean, that's just... That is downright awful, alright? So, I mean, personally, I never really reviewed this game. Personally, I'd give this game a you know, even an 8. Even an 8 I would give... Okay, based on the campaign alone, like a 7.5. But if you add the multiplayer I'd just give like an 8, you know? It's really fun. I cannot deny how much fun I had with the multiplayer. It was just a blast. So I don't know why everyone's saying this game's like a 4 out of 10. It's nowhere near that, alright? It's not as bad as it seems. And when you can get this game for like $30 right now on Amazon, it's the perfect price for this game, really. Because it has a lot of cool, fun multiplayer modes. Now that you get, you know, that new Zero Dark 30 map pack that just came out, you know. you get that for free if you buy the game's limited edition. You get into the Battlefield 4 beta. Whoa. I can't wait to see what they changed in that, but you get the Battlefield 4 beta access, which I'll reserve my thoughts, but I just thought the multiplayer was fun. Definitely not as bad as what the critics were saying. I enjoyed it a lot, and definitely you deserve to try it out. You know, it's not as bad as you were saying. Don't get scared by the numbers 3 and 4 out of 10, because it's definitely not like that. All right, guys. So that is Medal of Honor Warfighters multiplayer. Number 2, Max Payne 3. So this is probably a controversial choice for a lot of people. I've heard just about everyone say that they just don't like the multiplayer and blah 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 blah. I think me and Reality Pales and someone else, we're like the only person who actually liked the multiplayer. I just enjoyed this one a lot, and everyone kept saying, you know, all this game's the multiplayer is just horrendous and blah blah. I just didn't see any of it. I mean, it wasn't the main focus, and yeah, it did have some glitches here and there, but I just didn't see, like, you know, unplayability. Everyone was talking about, like, oh, it's just unplayable. It was not unplayable. And I just don't understand why people were saying that, you know, unplayable. This is actually footage from my camera, and if you can believe it, it just feels like ages ago when I was actually filming with my camera. You know, you can kind of tell here, but seriously, it's felt like a long time. But anyhow, I just love this multiplayer mode. I haven't actually been playing it in a while because, you know, I'm pretty much done with the multiplayer. I didn't max rank. I got like level 46, and that's like as high as I'm going. I just haven't been back to it because, like, really no one plays the multiplayer anymore. But I liked it a lot. I just really liked the multiplayer a lot. And I thought it was hilarious how I was like one of the best players. You know, whenever I got into the match, I always got first place. And I remember getting like 60 kills for a match, and everyone had like probably like 20 or 25 at like the most. And people kept saying, "You're such a hacker." I remember people actually, as soon as they got into a lobby with me, they would just quit the game. And I remember people saying, like, in the comments on the chat, because, you know, on PC you can chat in lobbies and stuff like that. I remember them saying, "I reported you to Rockstar. Looks like you won't be doing that again." And I've never, ever, ever received an email from Rockstar saying, "You've been banned from the game," and blah, 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 blah. You know, everyone kept saying, "Oh, you use aimbot a lot." It's not aimbot. The fact that the aim assist is, like, so strong to the point where I aimed down the sight and my character literally turned 180 degrees and locked onto another player. I'm not kidding. She literally turned around and locked onto another player when I was facing in the opposite direction. And people were saying that's aimbot. No, that's the game developers taking aim assist and turning it up on max. All right. But I really had a fun time with the multiplayer, and I think when you're doing well, you know, if you're doing as well as I did, you probably would understand. But I really enjoyed it. You know, well, I guess I was like everyone's rival, you know. Although I did notice a few people who were actually in the game, like Hard 8 Times. I always used to get stuck in a lobby with him, and he was like one of the few people who can actually beat me. But yeah, the thing I used this weapon. And the weapon I'm using right now is that bolt-action rifle. I forgot the name of it, but I used that weapon, and the perks I had on it made it so that it had pinpoint accuracy. There was literally no recoil on the gun, or barely any recoil on the gun. So I had pinpoint accuracy, so whenever I'd go into slow motion, I would just get pinpoint accuracy, so I'd always aim for the head, and boom, instant headshot, instant death. And I think that's what the problem was, that this weapon I was using was just way overpowered. But it was a good multiplayer. I liked it a lot. And it definitely deserves a spot at number 2. Number 1, Halo 4. So, if you've seen my multiplayer gameplay video that I did, which to this day I still think is my best multiplayer video with the best commentary that I've done, you'd know that I love this multiplayer. I think it's fantastic. Now, when it came to Halo, I always thought the campaigns were okay and the multiplayers were fun with friends. I never just really could get into the multiplayer by myself. It was just always something I'd do with friends. And when I started, you know, really I had no interest in trying Halo 4's multiplayer, but I got bored of Black Ops 2 one day, so I said why not, and I popped in Halo 4's multiplayer, and I was just surprised as hell
this multiplayer is a blast to play alone by yourself. And I never had that experience of just being able to have fun playing Halo 4's multiplayer by myself. I'd always have to get a friend to come play with me. Because, you know, it was just one of those, you know, games that you just play with your friends. You know how some games are just more fun with your friends or just not fun by yourself. And, you know, Halo as a series has always been one of those games. I was just pleasantly surprised with this multiplayer. It also helped that I was actually doing really well, but I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. I thought that, you know, whatever 343 Industries did with the multiplayer, I mean, I have no idea what they did, but it turned out to be awesome. I just love the multiplayer. And still to this day, I go back and play it by myself, although not as frequently as I'd like to. But still, I've been having a blast with this game. I think it's fantastic. And yeah, it's just one of the few Halo games I can actually say, hey, I had fun playing online by myself. I didn't need any of my friends to be there. I didn't need to join into a game chat party. I just liked playing by myself. And you can't say that with a lot of games. And Halo, for me, I mean, you could never say that for Halo, you know, before Halo 4, but I really enjoyed it. I really thought the multiplayer was fantastic, and definitely I enjoyed it more so than any other game out there, you know? I just thought it was fantastic. Definitely high quality. The graphics are great. The frame rate's nice and smooth. I like the maps, and the game modes are pretty cool. Usually, I just play Team Deathmatch, but, you know, it's a really high quality multiplayer, so I'm really looking forward to getting back in here sometime. I hope you know, hopefully I can find some friends to play with more often. You know, usually I just play by myself. There's a lot of people that I'd like to go ahead and play games with, but most of the time I'm just playing by myself. So, wah wah. Anyhow, that's Halo 4's multiplayer. Definitely deserves #1. I loved it, and I was so surprised that I loved it.
So there you have it. My top 5 best multiplayer games of 2012. Our next category is completely different. It's not based on gameplay, graphics, or story, but rather instead what you can hear. So without further ado, let's continue.
Number 5, Max Payne 3. So, Max Payne 3's soundtrack, which I received actually free as a digital download for getting the collector's edition, I thought it was really well put together. I liked the whole music. I liked the theme. It was, you know, it had a very orchestral kind of mix to it. They did a really good job, and I actually used the theme song Tears in the intro to my videos, if you noticed. And, you know, I thought you got you really pumped with the action. It had some really awesome ambiance music. Parts where Max is, you know, really thinking about life and what happened in the past and stuff. So they did a really, really good job on that. And I just really enjoyed the soundtrack, and I burned it to a CD from the digital download, and you know, I have it in my car. Sometimes I'll listen to it, you know, but I thought as a game soundtrack it worked just extremely well. You know, it's something cool to listen to, and when you really pay attention to all the instruments and whatnot on there that they used, you know, it's really cool. They really just did an excellent job, and I thought it just fit the theme perfectly. There's a song on there, it's like some Brazilian rap song, you know, that's really cool, and you know, I remember that part from the game where he's got his hair cut and everything, and he's going into enemy territory, and it was just, it's the type of songs that when you hear them, you remember certain portions from the game. I just thought it fit it perfectly with its theme, you know, and I just thought it just did an excellent job of that. So I really liked the Max Payne 3 soundtrack. I thought it was just fantastic. It was really fun to listen to, and it fit the theme of Max Payne perfectly. Number 4, Call of Duty Black Ops 2. This was one that I was so surprised with, because in any previous Call of Duty, I never really paid attention to the soundtrack. And, you know, they really did an excellent job at creating a really epic, futuristic soundtrack to go with this. I mean, ones that just got you pumped for the action. My favorite song on there is Adrenaline, which is the theme song for the multiplayer. And I loved it. It's the one that's playing in the background right now. And there's a lot of songs on there that they do a perfect job of getting that, you know, high-tech, futuristic, almost dubstep in an instance, you know, type of theme in there, and it just fits it perfectly with the graphical style and the action and everything like that. I mean, I just really enjoyed the soundtrack for this game. I still listen to Adrenaline a lot. You know, it's one of my favorite songs, and it just really got me pumped for the action. I just loved it. So I really thought it just did an excellent job. It got me really pumped for the action. I thought it fit the graphical style and everything about the future, you know. I thought it fit that perfectly, and I just never in a Call of Duty game did I ever notice the soundtrack like that. So I was really surprised. I forgot to mention that in my review, unfortunately. But this has, out of all the Call of Duties, the best soundtrack to all of them. Definitely, for sure. I loved it. I might even buy the full soundtrack if I'm really thinking about it, but I loved it. It was just awesome. So you should definitely listen to the soundtrack once in a while, because you might even be pleasantly surprised what they have. And listen to Adrenaline, because like the mixtures of basses and everything like that, it's awesome. So great job, whoever developed the soundtrack for this game. Number 3, Halo 4. So this is, I've always enjoyed the Halo soundtrack. I always thought that the game had beautiful, beautiful musical art to it. I just loved it. I thought it fit it perfectly. Now, the song you're actually hearing in the background right now, this is a tribute song by Maluka, and I'll leave a link to her YouTube channel in the description, because she does a lot of excellent, excellent tribute songs. And this one in particular is one of my favorites. It's actually, I think it's the most recent one she did. However, I just love the soundtrack for Halo 4. You know, once again, I always loved it for Halo 3. I loved it for Reach. They've always done a great job in terms of the soundtrack, and I loved it. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what else they can do with the Halo soundtrack. It's just a lot of beautiful melody songs. It just gets you ready. So that's the Halo 4 soundtrack. Number 2, Assassin's Creed 3. Now, I loved the soundtrack for Assassin's Creed 2 a lot, and Assassin's Creed 3, I loved it a lot. This theme song was like really catchy. I kept playing it like over and over again, even when I was after playing. Even until today, I keep playing it. It's one of those theme songs you just love. They just did an excellent job on that. I think it fits the environments and the characters just perfectly, and it's just awesome, you know. Because before you have those nice, you know, ones with like the girl's voice and go like ah, and this one is all, you know, I forget what they use. It's not, you know, it's that nice, you know, kind of electronic instrumental kind of theme to it. It's just awesome. I just really like what they did with the soundtrack. It's like really nice and catchy. When you hear it, you're just like, oh, Assassin's Creed 3. You know, it's one of those soundtracks that you just really get into, you know. It just gets you ready for the action. I just loved it. So I really thought it was awesome, and I can't wait to see what they do for future games, you know, since it's clearly not over based on the ending. But I love the soundtrack, and even more so, maybe even a little bit more so than Assassin's Creed 2's soundtrack, and that's even surprising to say, because that was a really nice soundtrack. So that's Assassin's Creed 3 soundtrack. Number 1, Mass Effect 3. So Mass Effect 3's soundtrack is just one of those soundtracks where I was just like, wow, this is just gorgeous. The emotion that the soundtrack invicted was just incredible. I was just so surprised, you know, because I really enjoyed the soundtrack for Mass Effect 2, but it was like much more action oriented. I loved it because it had that really nice action step ups, and this one, it was just beautiful. The melodies they used, and the piano music, that part, you know, the song I'm playing in the background is called The End Once and For All. It's that soundtrack that they use at the end, you know, where he's making that final decision and they're going through what happens. But it's just beautiful. I just love the soundtrack. It definitely invicted this emotion in you, and that the game just really, you know, it just really needed at times, because, you know, when you're shooting people, I mean, it's hard to feel for the characters in a shooting game, you know, when you're just doing nothing but killing. But the soundtrack just really, really made you believe that you're just fighting a tough war, and this is for the people, and you just feel so bad about what's going on. So, I mean, I loved it, and I keep listening to it again and again. So that's Mass Effect 3.
That was a very hard category to pick winners, because I love the soundtracks for all of them. In fact, I burn them to CDs and listen to them while I'm in my car. And well, the Mass Effect soundtrack is the one I listened to the most and the one that really instilled the most emotion in me. And so for that, I say a job well done to BioWare. So moving on, we give thanks to those moments in gaming we remember the most, which are...
Number 5, The Darkness 2, I'll Never Let Go. So probably the most memorable part, I'd have to say, this year is at the ending of The Darkness 2, and keep in mind that this section of the award show will feature some spoilers. I won't go into too much detail, but, you know, some of the most memorable moments are, you know, spoilers and twists and stuff like that. So, The Darkness 2, at the very last end where you're finally saving your girlfriend, and, you know, you had, basically, he hugs her, and it says, like, press, I forgot the button, like, press A or whatever to let go, you know, of you hugging her. And you can basically hug her for, like, as long as you can. I have to say, that was, like, a really touching and memorable moment where, you know, you just won't let go of her, or depending on how long, you know, how long you want to keep hugging her, you know, it's your choice, really. But it was just a really memorable moment, really touching moment for the storyline at that end where it's just like press any button to let go, you know. And I probably didn't press anything for about 3 minutes. Yes, I stood there and watched them hugging for 3 minutes. But still, it was just an incredibly emotional moment, and I thought it worked extremely well. And that was definitely just an emotional part for the storyline. Definitely a really memorable moment this year. So that's The Darkness 2. I'll Never Let Go. Number 4, Assassin's Creed 3. You are a Templar. That whole beginning stage when you're playing as Haytham, which is Connor's father, and at the very last part of his chapter, where you think, you know, this whole time you're playing as an assassin or one of the assassins. I mean, he has a hidden blade. He has everything. You know, I mean, he almost was acting completely like an assassin. At that very end, where finally you're letting Charles Lee into your group, and Haytham says you are a Templar to basically him. It was shocking. You know, that was one of the better twists for a storyline that probably ever happened. You know, I really wasn't expecting that. And it just took me by a lot of surprise, you know, and you finally got to learn more about Haytham and the rivalry. He was, you know, once an assassin, and when that time when you were just like, oh wow, you know, at that very beginning stage when it's just like you are a Templar, it's just like wow, you know, I was surprised. So it was a very surprising thing. It's definitely one of the most memorable moments this year. Just one of those moments, you know. So Assassin's Creed 3, you are a Templar. Number 3, Binary Domain, twist and plot, and boss fights. So Binary Domain, I will go ahead and say this, had the best twist of any game this year in terms of storyline, which made it like one of the most memorable. But more so is the boss fights. I mean, they did an excellent job at really doing creative boss fights. I mean, we're talking about, like, you know, scale, like the size of like a 3 or 4 story building. It's incredible, and you know, you and your squad have to take them out, and you know, the creativity of each boss fight was incredible. You know, you were fighting like a chandelier at this one point. You're fighting like this snake monster that was like riding a motorcycle. It was just incredible, the creativity it did with the boss fights and everything like that. It was definitely one of the most memorable moments, and those twists too. Those twists that you couldn't see coming, like, ever. You know, it wasn't even like it wasn't really even like a hint that there may be a twist. It was like completely blindsided. It was just, you know, you were just so surprised, and you know how your choices really affected what comrades actually followed through with you. I mean, it was just incredible. So an excellent set of twists put in the plot, along with really creative boss fights, made this one of the most memorable moments and even games of this year. Number 2, The Amazing Spider-Man boss fights. The Amazing Spider-Man boss fights were undoubtedly the best out of any game this year. We're talking like just ginormous boss fights, like huge in scale, just epic set pieces. I mean, I gotta say, like, some of the best boss fights were the part when you're fighting the snake and you're just climbing to the top of the Oscorp building and you're fighting on the very roof and it's just overlooking the whole, you know, New York, Manhattan City vista, and you're fighting this huge snake monster. It's just incredible. The bosses were just awesome. I'm going to speak more about this, but I actually like this game a lot, and you'll see me speak more about it later in the award show, but I was surprised. I mean, the boss fights were huge in scale. The best boss fights, I think, this year in terms of video games, just incredible. I mean, the scale of them was insane. It really made you feel like, you know, this was like the boss you were fighting was like an actual size monster, you know? Sometimes, like, the monsters they're huge, but, you know, it's not like, oh, here's some footage of that. It was just short footage of that monster right there, but, like, you know, they're kind of huge, but they don't really feel that big. They don't feel like they're that powerful. I mean, they really gave you a sense of feeling for each boss fight in this game. I just thought they did a really good job. So that's the Amazing Spider-Man boss fights. Number 1, Spec Ops: The Line. It takes a strong man to deny what's in front of him. So if you played Spec Ops: The Line, there is absolutely no possible way that no moment from this game can be memorable. I mean, this game was just filled with just memorable, really surprisingly memorable moments, you know? I mean, I tried the demo and I thought it was, you know, pretty cool, but I was so surprised with, like, the whole game, like, the story and everything like that. It was just an overall well-quality made game, and it's a shame that, you know, it didn't do, you know, that well, but it was just an excellent game, and one of the most memorable moments was the one where you're using the white phosphorus against enemies, and you thought that you were using them against enemies, and then they post the dead mother and with her child, and they're all posing there right in front of you. I honestly had to walk away from the game at that point. Once I figured out that I actually did that, like, I made that decision, I felt like so bad. I had to actually turn off the game for like 15 minutes or so and I just had to stop. I need to go get a drink of water. So Spec Ops: The Line was just filled with memorable moments. I mean, just incredible, absolutely incredible. There's just no possible way that this game, if you played it, could have not been memorable to you.
Unforgettable moments are what some may say is the true value in gaming. Moments where we can't make a good decision. Moments where we prevailed against the biggest threats. And moments when we're like, what the fuck? But they are important, and they do stick with us throughout our lives. But to enjoy something more than anything, ever, is a completely different experience.
Number 5, Forza Horizon. So after being a huge Gran Turismo fan, well, kind of not anymore because they really disappointed me with Gran Turismo 5. However, thankfully, we got another great racing series, Forza, which is known for creating, you know, simulated racing games. It's basically the Xbox's Gran Turismo. But in my opinion, a lot better. I think the game, you know, has better controls for driving. I love the customization, and the damage is really nice and everything like that. But this is about Forza Horizon. This is different. This is basically taking the concept. They basically said this. Let's take Test Drive Unlimited 2 and put it in Colorado, and let's have it, you know, with Forza controls, but you can still mess with them to make them, you know, more arcadey or more simulated based on your experience. And it just works really well. Now, it doesn't have really as much features as Forza Horizon. As Test Drive Unlimited 2, meaning that you can't go buy property, you can't walk into dealerships and customize your character. But what it does extremely well. This game I loved. I loved this game to death. I beat it like a couple weeks ago, doing all the events. And for a long racing game like that, it has to be enjoyable to go ahead and do it. I love the fact that I can upgrade any number of my cars and I can put them on a competitive level. I upgraded like my Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution, and I was beating people with like Lamborghinis. I'm not even kidding you. So that's what I just love about the Forza series, is its upgrading system, and also its customization is really well done too. But I just love this game. It's just amazing. It's just driving alongside at night in the city vistas is just incredible. So I really loved it. I thought they did an excellent job Forza Horizon definitely in the top 5 most enjoyable games this year. Number 4, Sleeping Dogs. So this game I honestly loved. And the reviews for it were, they were pretty, I wouldn't say, bad, they were pretty good. But I really enjoyed this game a lot. I loved it. I loved the story. I loved, the graphical style. I loved being able to buy cars and, customize my character, going to clubs. Just the melee combat was really good. I mean, this game was just enjoyable in like all aspect. I loved doing the story missions. I did all the side missions. I did like everything for this game. So, and for an open world game like this, a huge open world game like this, it has to be really enjoyable. So I really enjoyed it. I thought it was excellent. I loved it a lot, and definitely, it deserves a spot in the top 5 most enjoyable games. Just a really good job, and I'm glad it finally released. I'm glad that Square Enix finally took it. So they did a good job with it. That's Sleeping Dogs. Number 3, Dishonored. Dishonored was one of the best stealth games I have ever played. Now, as you all know, prior to this game's release, this was my most anticipated game for this year completely. And I had to say that the reason for that being was, number one, I'm a huge fan of stealth games. I love stealth games to death. I love figuring stuff out, really using the environment to my advantage, and just really sneaking around and seeing how I can get my objectives done without, causing the most destruction. And what Dishonored did is that it just gave you this beautifully crafted world, one that which you just wanted to keep on exploring. You just didn't want to stop playing. And unfortunately, the game took me 12 hours to beat, and keep in mind that was on a hardcore stealth playthrough. I was constantly retrying levels and so on and so forth. And it's just a shame that I wish it could have, been much longer, like double that length, because as soon as I was finished playing the game, I just wanted to play it more and more. Now, thankfully, Dishonored did so well in sales that Bethesda did say they now have a new franchise, which is just fantastic. This is truly something, to experience it for gaming history. A brand new IP that did well and exceeded expectations, and now we have a brand new franchise. I mean, how amazing is that? And at the same time, Bethesda released DLC for this game. The first DLC was like Dishonored, Dunwall City Trials, I think it was called, or something like that. I did videos of that, and it also had like a multiplayer element to it, so you can compete with your friends. And now that we're going to have another 2 story DLCs on there, I mean, I just can't wait. This is one of those games I just want to keep playing, and I just loved it a lot. I loved the graphical style, I loved the story, and I thought the gameplay was exceptional. So Dishonored definitely one of the top 5 most fun games this year, undoubtedly. It's beautiful, both in gameplay, graphical style, and just story and whatnot. So that's Dishonored. Number 2, Far Cry 3. Far Cry 3's gameplay was undoubtedly one of the most fun experiences I have ever had in a video game. Not only did the developers create this just lush, beautiful tropical jungle, that albeit 2 islands instead of 1. The first island already as big as it is. You have now another full second island for the campaign. I mean, this game was just immersive, like down to the bone. I mean, I felt every single moment, I felt that I was really my character, and I was really just exploring the jungle, and I was just, it was dangerous no matter where I was. I really felt like I was there. And for you to say that, for an immersive experience to really give that in terms of a game, I mean, that you just know that you're playing a really good AAA title. I mean, when you first started out with the game, the first thing I did was go and hunt so I can get all my supplies, and that's like the first thing I did. And it really helped me out later into the game when I was able to carry like 4 weapons, carry maximum ammo, craft, special syringes and whatnot, and it just really, really helped me out. So I really just loved Far Cry 3. I thought it was incredibly immersive. I loved the gameplay, and it was just awesome. I mean, the hunting and everything was incredibly realistic. You also had the ability to really set fire to the environments, you know, and watch that fire burn. Like Far Cry 2, fire was huge for Far Cry 2. It was like, you know, the thing that they were pushing, and they really did a good job. I mean, once the whole jungle burns and everything like that, you can see all the burnt leaves and everything, and the fire and the particle effects, and you know, it's all crackling from basically burning, and it's just amazing what this game did. In terms of a gameplay experience, it was just, it gave you so much bang for your buck. I mean, a lot, just a lot of content. So I loved Far Cry 3. Definitely number 2 for the most fun and enjoyable game, and I just loved it. There was not one moment in this game where I just felt like, you know, oh, this was stupid. So they really just did a really great job. Number 1. Hitman Absolution. I loved this game, and when it came down to choosing which games I enjoyed most this year in terms of the top 5 releases, I just had to put this game, and I kept moving it back and forth between Far Cry 3 and Hitman Absolution, and I finally just came to the conclusion that, you know, Hitman Absolution deserved number 1. This game was incredible, and I was surprised about how much fun I was having. Now, I never played the first, or any of the Hitmans for that matter. I never played any of the Hitman games, but I knew that they were really popular stealth games, but I didn't really know what to expect. And this game was just incredible. The stealth was very difficult, but because of that, it provided a sort of challenge that most games, you know, sort of are more going towards the action route. This game really just is great for the hardcore stealth player, you know, and like I said, I'm a huge fan of stealth games, and this game was just perfect. I loved figuring out stuff. There's so many ways to complete your objective, and I just loved it. I spent like 20 hours in the campaign for this game. 20 hours for a stealth game like this, and I just loved every single moment of it. So Hitman Absolution definitely deserves number 1 in this spot. I mean, I thought it was incredible. Everything about the game I loved, and it was just, without a doubt, the most fun game this year.
I can't possibly begin to tell you where the fun stopped with those games, because time and time as I went back to those games, I felt as if I enjoyed them a little more, and you can't say that for every game. But characters who leave an impression that make you hate them, well, that takes work and good storytelling.
Number 5, Charles Lee from Assassin's Creed 3. So, I've really enjoyed the villain of Assassin's Creed 3. Although there were a lot of them, I think Charles Lee, you know, was the main one in particular that I really just, you know, hated his guts. And it's kind of funny because at the beginning stage when you're, you know, he's on your side, you know, really he's on the Templar side, but since you are a Templar, he is on your side. And, you know, you're helping him get settled in, you finally get him into that point. You know, he seems like a generally nice person, you know, he doesn't seem like very angry. But it's just amazing how the Templar Order really changed him to come into this, to be this really hated person. You know, I really didn't like him. And when I finally, at that end stage, which I kind of honestly felt like that whole end stage was a little bit overdone. I mean, I'm sorry, but when you're shot in the chest like that, there is no possible way you're going to be walking all the way into the frontier, take a boat, and just waiting to bleed out, having a nice drink. And when you have a plank going through your side, there is no possible way you're going to get up and walk and go all the way and travel. I mean, the whole ending I thought was really just, I mean, especially that last part with the last fight and you finally kill, you know, Charles Lee. That whole ending I just thought was way overdone. It didn't need to be like, oh, I had to go walk all the way to the frontier with my big wound from this plank that just crushed through me. I'm sorry, there is no possible way. No possible way. You would die so fast from like an infection or anything, especially in that time where they didn't have much medicine. So, but I really felt like Charles Lee was just a great developed character, and definitely deserved a spot in the top 5 best antagonists. Number 4, Blake Dexter from Hitman Absolution. So, Hitman Absolution's main villain, Blake Dexter. I really thought that he was just an annoying prick at first. You know, he just really, right at the start, you really hated this guy. You know, he's just very, redneck type of person, and his personality, you just hate him. For God's sakes, I mean, the way they developed this guy, I mean, he's just a really annoying dick. So, I mean, when I really enjoyed him as a villain, really because, you know, he really did make you hate him, and you really wanted to assassinate him, and I really felt like they could have done something more with his death instead of, you know, so-and-so is gone, and now he has to go save, you know, her, and he has her locked up, and I mean, when you really take him out, you can just really sneak around and stuff like that. So, I really liked him as a villain, though. I thought he was pretty cool. I just wish that, you know, they had like a more epic fight against him and against him and all his, you know, allies, but how they did it was perfectly fine. It wasn't that bad. I'm just saying that I just wish it was just bigger, you know? So, Blake Dexter, I really hated this guy, and definitely deserved a spot in the top 5 best antagonists. Number 3, the Reapers from Mass Effect 3. So, I kind of had some trouble deciding whether or not I should put this on the list, but I decided, even though the Reapers aren't an actual person, you know, they're just synthetic beings, they are still the main villain for this game, and definitely I think they deserved a spot, mainly because, you know, they're just programs. They're just programmed to kill each other. They don't really have any personalities. I mean, you kind of learn that, but what they do to humanity, I mean, it's just, you just really feel sorry for them because of what they do for to humanity, and they're just killing everyone. You're just trying to figure out why. It just creates this, like, you know, emotional impact, you know, and you're trying to save everyone from these things, and you have to unite against them. I mean, the way that I think they did the whole Reaper threat in Mass Effect and the series completely was just exceptional. I just loved it. You know, how they developed the whole villains around it and the whole universe, and it really made you, you know, feel like you were a part of the world. So, even though they aren't really a human being, I really felt that they needed to earn a spot because I still hated them to death, and I was glad when I finally defeated them. Number 2, Raul Menendez from Call of Duty Black Ops 2. So if you've seen my Call of Duty Black Ops 2 review, you all know that I just love the main villain. I think he's the best villain that this series ever had, even more so than Makarov from the Modern Warfare series. The way they developed this character just was amazing, and I was surprised as hell, because, you know, when you say Call of Duty, you're like, okay, it's those characters who want just the end of the world. It was different, and it's because of the future they decided to do this whole cyber attack thing, and I just think it worked out extremely well. The main villain, you just hated this guy, and when you finally, you know, at sections in the game when you're finally able to play with him, and, you know, you saw what he went through and kind of why he was like, you know, who he was, I mean, it was just incredible. The emotional impact of that character, I mean, I felt sorry for him, but I also hated him in a sense. You know, and when you feel sorry for a character, you know, you get this sort of attachment. And for a villain, to feel sorry for a villain, I mean, that's just, I mean, it's just really extremely rare. So I love the villain for Call of Duty Black Ops 2. I thought, like I said, I think it's the best villain the series ever had. And I just hated this guy's guts. I mean, when you finally capture him, and, you know, he has all the cards, you know, and you're just a pawn in his game, really, and it was just incredible what they did with the villain and the character development. They just did an exceptionally great job. So, I mean, I love the villain. I think I really think that's the best villain that this series ever had, and one of the best villains undoubtedly this year. So, that's Raul Menendez. You gotta hate him. Number 1, Vas Montenegro. So, Vas, you know, I think everyone's going to probably pick him as the best villain, you know, but it is true. Ubisoft did an amazing job at developing his character. And if you really looked or paid attention to basically how his character came about. I mean, Ubisoft was looking for someone completely different. Michael Mando, the voice actor, just happened to give that as his part in a role, and Ubisoft then contacted him and basically said, "Hey, we really liked your stuff. We're actually developing a character based around your performance. Would you come and play his part?" I mean, it's just incredible. Unfortunately, though, it seemed like he wasn't the main villain, which was surprising. This game had multiple villains, but he wasn't the main one. And I really felt that he should have been like the main villain, because I mean, you just really, really, really hated this guy, and he was insane. He was literally like, he was the definition of insanity, and that was the whole theme of this game, is that you're on an island with insane people, and he was just by far the most crazy out of all of them. I mean, just just beautifully acted performance. I really liked his character. Well, as a villain, and I did that impression video, me playing with, me doing the definition of insanity. I did that impression video, and actually Michael Mando himself commented on that, which to this day I'm very, very proud of. But that's an accomplishment in its own. But I just like to say that Michael Mando, I think, just did an excellent job around Voss Montenegro. I just think the way he acted in the performance was something so unique, and just something so out there, that it made him believable because of that. And I think anyone else doing that performance, couldn't have nearly done a great job as Michael Mando has. So, Voss Montenegro, probably everyone's #1 villain this year, but definitely I think he deserves it.
I felt a strong hate towards those characters specifically, and when I finally defeated them, it gave me a sense of accomplishment that no game this year had given me. But as important as hateful villains are, more importantly is the character you're playing as. For it is how he or she is developed. After all, it is supposed to be you.
Number 5, Citra from Far Cry 3. So Citra's character really, I felt, was something unique. It's brought something new to, I think, the first-person shooter genre, because and I think most of the characters did that, but really Citra's, in her best interest, she really wanted to protect her people. And when that game, spoiler alert, had that twist at the end where she finally turns against you, I couldn't say that she was a villain. I mean, a lot of you guys are probably going to say, oh, well, she was a villain. She turned against you. Really, no. She didn't turn against you because she, didn't want you to escape. She turned against you because it was in her best interest of her people. But still, she was never against you in any way. She just, she was in love with you, But she didn't want to, like, kill you because, you're just an idiot or whatever. And your relationship, as it developed further, as you started to play the game, you started to get closer to her. I just thought it was really well done. And I think that, she definitely deserves a spot in this top 5 best protagonist, because, like I said, it's in her best interest of her people, and you can almost kind of feel for her because of what you did, I mean, she doesn't want you to leave. She wants you to constantly be blessed, or bless the island that her people live on, and she's just acting in the best interest of her people. When you look at it like that, she's really not a villain, she's not a bad person. She's just someone who's looking out for her own kind, which I think, most of us would. So, Citra, I think she definitely deserved a spot in the top 5 best protagonists. Number 4, Commander Shepard from Mass Effect 3. So I think we all have a personal connection with Shepard that, we normally don't have with video game characters, mainly because he's our own character. He's fully customizable. You can make him look however you want, and it's your choices that really affect what's going on in the war. So I just had to post him up in the top 5 best antagonists because, this is the biggest war he's fought. It's definitely a much more personal story for Shepard, and to see him, like, really just had this emotional connection, to Earth and everything that's going on. He has to really fight for, everyone, and he basically knows that, if he doesn't save the world, then it's never going to be saved by anyone else. Everything's relying on him. So with that type of stress and everything, I just thought that, he definitely deserved a spot in the top 5 best protagonists, because he's awesome. It's Commander Shepard. He's just amazing, He's like the second best thing to Chuck Norris, I guess you could say. So Commander Shepard definitely earned a spot for the top 5 best protagonists. Number 3, Max Payne from Max Payne 3. So I was really, really, really hyped for Max Payne 3 when it came out. And really, I started to play all the other Max Payne games before this game's release. I decided to play the first one and the second one, just so I can get a feel for the character, And I think he definitely deserves a spot for the top 5 best protagonists, really because, he has this dark past that he just really wants to forget, and he's like this genuine badass, but he has like a really big emotional side, and he's a depressed junkie, it turns out. And to really see him change that, as a character, he really had to change who he was, get a new haircut, grow his freaking beard out, and he really, had to do something different. He had to change himself, and I really thought that in Max Payne 3, I really saw this emotional connection and side to him. He was really just, after everything that happened to him, he just really wanted to forget, and he's pulled back into this same issue he was trying to, basically get rid of the whole time, and he really had to just, act. Or just really deal with it himself, and he's going through a lot of issues, both mentally, and both mentally and physically in terms of that. He's getting hurt. His blood sugar must be off the charts. All those painkillers. I'm sorry, but he's really just going through a lot, and I think you see it in a lot. In terms of the game, you see that emotional side to him a lot, and I think they just did a really good job creating this character, with an emotional impact. Whether they'll do a Max Payne 4. I'm not really sure, because a lot of people, Max Payne 3 didn't really sell that well, which is kind of surprising. And I think the reason is because what Max Payne did is it was the perfect game for those who played the original game in the past. It still had that same fun, addicting gameplay, but they kind of tried to modernize it a bit. I think it worked really well. I just think a lot of people, are saying, oh, it's linear, or oh look, you're just dodging bullets the whole time. But I think if you really look beyond that, the story of the game was just really incredible. But that's a different category all in itself. So Max Payne, definitely one of the top 5 best protagonists. I just thought emotionally he was really well developed. Number 2, Martin Walker from Spec Ops: The Line. So if you haven't played Spec Ops: The Line, then you're probably going to be surprised by this choice. Martin Walker, I thought was an incredibly developed character. He's just a soldier, and he was sent in with his squad to, find out what happened to all the missing people and, answer a distress call, more or less. And what he went through and what he had to keep going through was just incredible. If you play Spec Ops: The Line, then you yourself know that this game is just, it messes with your head. The choices that he had to make, there was basically no right decision. No matter what choice he made, everyone was going to get hurt in some way. And his comrades and everything that had to go through with it with him, and how the relationship with his comrades kind of deteriorated over time. This game was incredible in terms of character development. I think Martin Walker was just an exceptionally well developed protagonist. He really helped drive that story forward. He was that type of person where, he almost felt almost relatable in a sense. He's just this soldier guy who's doing his job, and he had to go through just so much. So Spec Ops: The Line and definitely Martin Walker deserve a spot for the top 5 best protagonists. Number 1, Agent 47 from Hitman Absolution. So I think Hitman Absolution's story and Agent 47 as a character were just, it was different than the previous games. like I said, I never played the previous Hitman games. This is the first one I did play. However, I always pictured Agent 47 as this really silent badass, this guy that didn't talk. He just did what he was told. or, you know, completed the mission flawless ways. And that was just, you know, that was my personal opinion on Agent 47 before I actually played the Hitman games. And I was so surprised when I played Hitman Absolution because the character development, you know, he was like chatty. He actually had like a voice and an opinion, and he actually had a personality that I was just so surprised with. I didn't expect this, you know, type of, you know, character for Hitman Absolution, you know, and I thought it was a much more emotional character, and because of that, he felt more believable. And I think, you know, when you have a character that's just more believable, you know, can really just give you endless possibilities in terms of what you can do with your story. And because of that, the story just felt much more engaging. So Agent 47, definitely a much more personal character this time around, but I really enjoyed it for what it was. He felt more believable because of that. And I just definitely thought that out of all the characters, I just really loved his personality, and I was surprised with it too.
Characters help tell and involve you in a good story. And when you like a character and even more so can relate to them, then there is no force that can stop you. But emotional response is just as important. If you can't see the emotion in the character's face, then how can you believe what they're going through? Many people call graphics an unnecessary aspect to gaming, that they don't matter. But to those who believe that, answer this question. If graphics don't matter, then why do we need the next generation? After all, it is those same people that are excited for it. Let's take a look at those games that push the limits and set standards for visuals this year.
Number 5, Halo 4. So Halo has always been one of those games, in my opinion, that never got the graphical enhancements that it really deserved. And thankfully 343 Industries, Studios, whatever you want to say, thankfully that they actually gave Halo, you know, good graphics, because I was just always, you know, unimpressed with the graphics of the Halo series up until now. Now, if I want to be nitpicky, I can say, okay, well, they should have used more anti-aliasing because, you know, there is some jaggedy edges, but I'm not going to be like that. This game had some really nice set-piece moments and some moments where I would, like, you know, stop and say, wow, that looks pretty good. So definitely deserved a spot for top 5 best visuals. Number 4, Forza Horizon. So talk about technological advancement, or whatever you want to say. This game was a technological masterpiece, in my opinion. This game pushed the limits of the Xbox 360. If it didn't, then I'm surprised. But this game, in terms of like graphics and what the engine did, was incredible. This game was completely open world, featured graphics that were like extremely nice graphics like Forza 4, alright, with little to no pop-in, not to mention the brand new lighting effects that they introduced with Forza 4, played in full 1080p output, and played in 60 frames per second. So, I'm sorry, you're telling me this game played in full 1080p at 60 frames per second, an open-world racing game with little to no pop-in, plus brand new lighting textures from Forza 4. I mean, this game was incredible. What it did graphically was just amazing. The cars looked extremely realistic. The world looked amazing. I mean, when you're driving around on the highway at night and your car, you know, all the lights flicker up in the interior from the car, I mean, it looks incredible. The attention to detail in this game is insane. And there was just no possible way this game was not going to be included for the top 5 best visually impressive games this year. I mean, I'm sorry, but if you played this game, then you know what I'm talking about. Forza Horizon, excuse me, not Forza 4. Forza 4 too, but this year, Forza Horizon really pushed the limits for graphics in 2012. Number 3, Max Payne 3. So if you were watching, you know, some of these videos, like the one you're watching here about, you know, what they did to Max Payne 3, the animation system and whatnot, I mean, this game was incredible. And I played it on the PC. I actually waited 2 weeks. Yes, I waited to get it on PC. And really, Max Payne was a PC exclusive back into the day, so that's another reason why I wanted it, because it was on its true console. Or, I'm sorry, its true platform. Excuse me, true platform. But graphically, I mean, Max Payne wasn't really one of those games where I was just like, wow. Especially the first one. They just took a picture of some guy's face and put it on the character. It was kind of funny. It's funny because his face always looked awful. You know, it looked like he was like constipated like the whole time. But with Max Payne 3, I mean, they really did an amazing job in terms of graphics. I mean, amazing DirectX 11 effects. They really, especially like they even rendered sweat on his face. Who does that? Who renders sweat on a character's face? I mean, that was just is incredible detail on everything, like in the environments too. You know, the environments looked amazing as well, but DirectX 11 effects were really put the useful in this game, and just graphically they just did an amazing job. So they definitely earn a spot for in definitely the top 5 best visually impressive games. Definitely. I mean, what they did with the engine and everything, the animation system was incredible, along with rendering sweat on his freaking face. Attention to detail, guys. Attention to detail. Number 2, Assassin's Creed 3. So, they really, you know, the developers of Assassin's Creed, they really sort of built this new engine from the ground up specifically for this game. And the game itself, I thought the Assassin's Creed series as a whole, you know, always looks pretty good. The character models were like really the only major complaint, although for Revelations, they kind of, you know, changed it in a way almost. But it looked good there. But this time, like, the character models are amazing in this game. And talk about the animation system, I mean, when Connor's like going up a hill, he changes his pace and everything. You can see that in his footwork, along with when he's trying to like navigate through the snow. You can really see him struggling. And yes, it's kind of frustrating when you have to go halfway across the map and you're traveling in deep snow, and it takes him like just half an hour to get from like 2 feet away from where he usually was. So I mean, it's just, I mean, yeah, that's frustrating, but in a way, I think I really can appreciate that a little bit more because it's realistic, you know. But they really just did an excellent job on the graphics. This brand new engine really just helped immerse me into the experience, along with, you know, an amazing character models and everything. It just really made you believe, like the emotion and stuff. You could really see that in the characters, and the engine really lended itself to that. And the only really major complaint is that the game didn't seem to really have a wet effect in-game. Like, the water effects just... I thought the water looked good, but when Connor, like, got into the water and he got out, his clothes didn't look wet at all. Like, not compared to the other Assassin's Creed. Like, Assassin's Creed 2, you can really see the wet effects, and this one, you really couldn't. So that was, like, my only complaint. However, it still looked great and definitely deserved a spot on the top 5 most visually impressive games. Number 1, Far Cry 3. So I don't think anyone should be surprised here, you know, about me choosing this as number 1. I mean, the game looks gorgeous. I played this on PC, and thankfully, you know, because you gotta realize, with PC gaming, it's not about how good the game looks when it comes to the game being able to run itself on very high settings depending on your computer, but it's not about how good the game looks, it's about the engine of the game. If that engine's doing a lot at once, then the game's not going to be able to, you know, if your graphics card is slow, it's not going to be able to render as much. But I was really surprised with the performance specs I got on Far Cry 3, but mainly it was because of the engine wasn't really rendering everything like, you know, it wasn't like the Cry engine, you know, it was pretty much built differently. But this game was gorgeous. Amazing, detailed, realistic character models, alright? Excellent detail in the jungle. I mean, you actually felt like you were in the jungle. Every single, like, animal had, like, really detailed, like, fur on their bodies and everything, and it just looked amazing. And just incredible detail. Amazing lighting effects, great detail on the guns. I mean, everything about this game was just gorgeous, you know? And it's undoubtedly, I think up to this point, it's pretty much the best looking game. Now, you know, Crysis 3 seems to... It's probably going to be setting the records again, but still, for the time being, Far Cry 3 is just gorgeous, though. Everything about the game is just amazing. Excellent fire effects and environmental effects as well. And just amazing, absolutely amazing. I can't say anything else, but it was just, it's amazing. You know, detail, incredible detail on like the leaves. Great work of DirectX 11 and whatnot. So it was just an excellent, great looking game, and it definitely helped immerse you into the experience, and pretty much the best looking game up to this point.
A beautifully crafted world ensures an exceptionally immersive experience. But equally, a game that relies on graphics suffers from all other things that didn't get quite that attention. So let's take a look at the ones that didn't really impress.
Number 5, Prototype 2. So, after playing the original Prototype and actually liking it somewhat, I was expecting Prototype 2, even though that they are throwing away the main character. I was still kind of accepting it with like open arms. I was like, alright, this is, you know, they could do, you know, a lot for improvements for a sequel. And what I found was utter complete disappointment. The game's story is just, it's completely like just dismissed, because Alex Mercer is portrayed as the bad guy, yet if you played the first game, you know that the only thing he was ever interested in is finding out what happened to him. Like, he would never, ever put someone else's life in danger. I mean, he wasn't like a superhero, you could say, like someone to look up to, but he was, you know, he wouldn't go out on rampages and just hurt everyone. I mean, you could if you wanted to, it's an open world game. I'm just saying the character himself, he never seemed like the type of person who would just go out on rampages and kill anyone. And you learn that, oh, he's infecting the whole city and he's plotting revenge against it. It's like, that is so stupid. I don't care. I don't care for you, the developer, for this game. Alright? Alex Mercer, the character that you developed for the first game, would have never done that. Alright? Not to mention graphics that were basically outdated. I mean, they used almost the same animations from the first game, and these graphics are just... the rain effects looked cool, and that was like it. But the main city was just incredibly disappointing. And the gameplay was slightly improved. It was still that kind of fun, you know, thing, but they just changed the controls around. But I mean, this whole game was just complete disappointment. I really wanted to like it. I mean, I was expecting to not like it as much as I happened to not like it, but I was just completely disappointed. So Prototype 2, just an utter disappointment in so many ways, and just the first one was so much better. Number 4. Starhawk. So, I was really disappointed with Starhawk. Now, I understand that, you know, it can be fun for some. Some people liked it. I was personally just not impressed. And the reason was first of all, I was a huge fan of Warhawk. I loved that game. Like, that still to this day is like one of my favorite multiplayer games. I had some of the best multiplayer moments playing that game, you know. It was just a lot of fun. I loved it. I remember inviting my friend over to my house and we would play split screen online with that thing. It was just awesome. I loved Warhawk. And so naturally when they announced Starhawk, the successor, I was pretty excited. I was like, wow, you know, this is going to be awesome, you know, of finally something modern. It looks like it's going to be much more, controlling much more better, and it looks pretty cool. And I played the beta, and I didn't like it. And one of the reasons, too, was the graphical style. I'm not a fan of Western-style games, and this game was like, you know, like a futuristic alien Western kind of thing. And I liked the World War II / Star Wars kind of theme thing that they went for in Warhawk, but I was just not a fan of the graphical style for this one. And the story campaign was really just, I understand it wasn't supposed to be like a full-fledged campaign, but it just felt like it was just boring the whole time. But I just wasn't really a big fan, yeah, or I didn't really just like the game that much, you know. I was a huge fan of Warhawk, just didn't really like this game, so it just turned out to be extremely disappointing for me, unfortunately. So, that is what I think about Starhawk. Number 3, I Am Alive. Here's a game that I think we are all anticipating for quite some time. This game was like stuck in limbo for like so long it wasn't even funny. And the thing is, I was really looking forward to this game. So when Ubisoft finally announced, oh, it's going to be a digital download deal, my first thing was, what? I was like, I thought to myself, like, oh, okay, fine. But I'm still going to give it a chance. I'm still going to give it a chance. I looked at the gameplay. I'm like, all right, it looks okay. And I got the game despite the horrible reviews that it got. This game was awful. This game was like one of the most insulting games. Like, the story literally ended. It didn't even give you an ending. It was like one of those insulting endings where it's like, oh, thanks for paying $15 for nothing. Ha, 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 ha. So, the gameplay was very frustrating at times. The camera sucked, and you know, the climbing mechanics were like, okay, I understand you want to make it realistic, but there's like no. The graphics were hideous as well. Like, we're talking about like. You may think, oh, okay, it's all dusty, you know, it's supposed to be like that, but all they use is they put the film grain effect on. You couldn't even see anything, right? Because everything has the film grain effect on, and it doesn't even look like dust. It just looks like you have like an intense film grain effect going on in the game. It was just hideous, hideous, hideous art direction for, you know, that I really felt like if you made this like a hardcore survival game, you know, that would have been cool. But no, what they wanted to do is they just half-assed it basically, and it just turned out to be just awful. It's such a shame too, because this game had such potential for that beginning trailer, that reveal trailer in 2008 at E3 when they first showed it. Everyone was like, "Oh my God, that looks amazing!" You know, it's just a shame that it came to basically what it is today. A complete shame. The story sucked. Graphics were just ugly graphics. Like, it's possible to make, you know, if they did something like Fallout 3 and something you just added like, you know, some cool like fog effects or something like that, that would have been fine. But it's just they didn't do that. And then the gameplay was like hit or miss at times. It was very frustrating, but at the same time, like I saw what they were going through. It just didn't work out. So that's why it's one of my most disappointing games ever made. Number 2, Alan Wake's American Nightmare. Here's a game that really did have some potential, but was so horribly made and it's almost laughable at times. I played the first Alan Wake and I liked it a lot. I really did. I thought that, you know, it had a really good story. It got repetitive towards the end, but I saw what they were going through and I thought it succeeded as like a brand new IP, so on and so forth. But Alan Wake's American Nightmare, where they decided to do a downloadable version of Alan Wake. It was more like a side story kind of thing. But they decided to do some like downloadable version. Whatever you want to say, alright? And this game made you replay the same exact level 3 times. 3 times. You literally had to play a 2-hour segment of a level from beginning to end 3 times. Let me get this straight. I got to the end of the level. Oops, it doesn't look like you have all the pieces of the puzzle. So go back to the beginning of the level and play it again. Oh, looks like you don't have all the pieces. Go back to the beginning of the level and play it again with more enemies and even a tougher challenge. That's not a game. That's not even creativity. That is nothing but pure laziness. Let's have the player replay the same exact level 3 times, interacting with the same exact characters 3 times, changing the last level up so... They barely changed it, like it was barely even noticeable at the point. You just did something different in the last section. It was just awful, completely awful. If they had decided to do a sequel of this game, and the game, you know, perfectly sets it up for the sequel even after the downloadable content. If they decide to do a sequel, I hope that they can throw this concept in the trash and make it actually a good game. Because this game was nothing but crap, pure crap. Absolutely pure crap. Number 1, Resident Evil 6. Alright, before some people start posting in the comments, I can't believe you're putting Resident Evil 6 as number 1! As number 1! This game was great! Number 1! Yes, number 1. Because the hype surrounding this game was so big, and everyone was so exciting. What ultimately came about was so disappointing that it was almost insulting in a way. Now, I am all for a core gameplay change, alright? If you want to say, hey, we want to change the core gameplay of our game, I'm like, great! Great! They did it with Tomb Raider, you know? Hey, we want to take Tomb Raider and turn it into a survival game instead of an action-adventure game. Great! Fantastic! That's awesome, you know? And I hate people who use the excuse, well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, alright? Because things have to advance at some point. Things have to progress, things have to move forward. It's inevitable, alright? Change has to come. Get over it, alright? Seriously, I hate people who say that. It's just, it makes no sense because inevitably things are going to change. Now, Capcom wanted to change Resident Evil 6 to make it more action-oriented. Yeah, that's great. Fine, do it. The problem was that the core gameplay change played worse than the last iteration of the game. If you're going to have a core gameplay change, then make it a good gameplay change. Make it play well. I mean, honestly, in the Chris Redfield missions where you had to like, use cover systems, like because zombies, I guess zombies are now smart enough to use guns, so you now have to use this cover system. You have to hold down like left trigger and it's use like A to fight, and it's like the weirdest thing ever. It's like press 2 buttons to get into cover. What? Press and hold like 2 buttons to get into. It's like, what? What are you doing? How? It's like so simple to get the cover system right. 1 button, stick to cover. Use your left stick to move. That is it. That's all you have to do. Why is it so difficult? I just don't get it. Now, if you didn't play this game in the order that Capcom, you know, recommended, then the story made absolutely no sense because it jumped everywhere. So, I mean, I would rather just have them say, okay, you between the story, you'll be switching off between different characters. That would have been fine. But no, everything has to be switched around. Luckily, I played the game, you know, in the order that it was supposed to be. But the gameplay was like just so awful. I just got bored so quickly. Just so quickly. The story wasn't even that interesting, to be honest. The graphics were nice. The graphics looked nice. I will say that. The graphics did look nice. But the core gameplay change was just awful. Alright? I don't care if it's not like Resident Evil in the previous games. All I care is that it plays well. And this game did not play well. The guns were so inaccurate. Cover systems sucked. The game, in the sections where the game wanted you to just unload bullets, you never had enough ammo to do that. A lot of quick time events. So much quick time events. Which generally I don't have a problem with. But, like, the game just pushed you into a quick time event just, like, out of nowhere. And sometimes you, like, weren't expecting it. So this game, just very disappointing. The gameplay sucked. Absolutely sucked. I don't care if it was unlike the other Resident Evils. I just cared that it played well, and it didn't play well. And that's why, after all the hype surrounding this game, that's why it deserves number 1.
Those games are shameful. Don't buy them. Don't even look at them. Please. Well, let's think about something else. Oh, what about the story of games? The ones that made us experience something unique. That total story is so engaging, so rich with complexity and character development that honestly you should feel disappointed if you haven't played them. So let's take a look at the games with stories that kicked ass.
Number 10, Call of Duty Black Ops 2. So I know just about every single one of you are going to be surprised with this choice. And the answer is pretty simple. Yeah. I do think Call of Duty Black Ops 2 had one of the best storylines. Call of Duty has always had an amazing storyline for like all their games. I always thought that the storylines were pretty good, you know? It's always action-oriented, they always have good characters, excellent set-piece moments, and the bottom line is I really thought that Black Ops 2 you know, did a really great job with its campaign. I liked the story. I thought the characters were amazing. I loved the graphical style. I mean, they did a good job at creating this futuristic world. At the same time, you know, it's built on the Call of Duty engine, so it really isn't that pretty, you know, meaning that graphically it's not going to wow you or anything like that. But for what it is, they did a really great job, you know, and they got a really nice, a lot of really good epic moments in there that really get you pumped for the action. So the bottom line is, yeah, I do think Call of Duty Black Ops 2 is has one of the best storylines this year. It's just plain and simple. They've always had good storylines, and you know, I'm not going to not give the game what it basically deserves, an award for a good story. All right, so that's my feelings on the storyline for Call of Duty Black Ops 2. Number 9, The Amazing Spider-Man. So here's probably another surprise to you guys, but if you played The Amazing Spider-Man, then it's probably not a surprise. The Amazing Spider-Man really, you know, surprised me, you know, because I was expecting, alright, rather mediocre, you know, especially as for a storyline, a rather mediocre storyline, since it was supposed to be a sequel to the movie, but the storyline was awesome. I really liked it. In fact, I said this before on Twitter, and I think in my review I said it too. I actually enjoyed the storyline for the game, or the supposed sequel, more than the actual movie. You know, I thought the movie was, you know, good, but I really enjoyed the storyline for the game more. I mean, I thought it had better action and characters, and I just really liked it. So, I mean, I was really surprised with The Amazing Spider-Man. I mean, the story was just great, excellent characters. I thought it was a really good, you know, attempted sequel for the movie. You know, and I did hear they actually are going to make a sequel to the movie. So, I'm interested to see if it's going to be anything like this. Probably not even close. But at the same time, I just really enjoyed the storyline for this more than the movie. Surprisingly, I just thought it was great. Number 8, Dishonored. So, even though that the story wasn't really Dishonored's strength, I still enjoyed it a lot. I thought really great characters, ones that you can really sink your teeth into. And I really enjoyed also finding out more information about the city, too, because, I mean, this game just had... It was just so complex, really, the story, because you could just find out random stuff, and you can find, like, little text logs, if you want to call them that, and you can read about how the city was and how the world came to be, and it was just rich with story and complexity. Now, the developers said that, you know, the story should never be the main focus for a game. That being said, I wouldn't say the story is the strongest suit for this game. I still think it's good. It's definitely good enough for, you know, you to keep playing to find out what's next. But, you know, I just really enjoyed it. Like the whole mission for revenge, I thought, the whole thing for revenge, I just thought it was really well done. And, you know, they had some twists in there, which you can kind of see coming. Almost, you can kind of see coming, you know. But still, at the same time, it was, for a brand new IP, it did an exceptionally great job. And I just really enjoyed the story. I enjoyed the world that it took place in. I enjoyed finding out more about the world and exploring and just the whole thing. I mean, the game was just extremely complex with its story, surprisingly, you know? So I really enjoyed Dishonored's story, and I thought it was a bit touching and charming in, at times, too. Number 7, Spec Ops: The Line. So, if you played Spec Ops: The Line, there's no way this cannot be on your list. I mean, for God's sakes. The story for this game was incredible. The story was a complete mind-blower. You know, you really just didn't have any idea at times what was really happening, what was real, what wasn't, and they just... I mean, it was just so surprising, the story for this game. I was not even expecting a story like this. But, I mean, there were moments in the game where I had to take breaks, you know, because of what was happening and going on. I just couldn't take it all at once. It was just too intense. But really really good characters, really believable characters too, you know? A lot of people might judge the game and say, it looks like a generic third-person shooter, and the gameplay is pretty generic. It's a generic third-person shooter gameplay. But if you play for stories, then there's no way that I can even, you know, even expect you to skip out on a game like this, you know? It's just incredible as far as the story goes, and really great. The gameplay's fun, but like I said, you know, it's just, it's kind of like that generic gameplay, but it really has those moments where it just blows your mind. So Spec Ops: The Line, an incredible, mind-blowing story that just messes with your head. Number 6, Sleeping Dogs. Now here's one I was pleasantly surprised with as well. You know, I was really, you know, I mean, I expected the story to be good, but I didn't expect it to be great, and it turned out that it actually was great. I mean, I really felt that, you know, they could have expanded on it more, but really what they did give you was a really, really, really believable storyline, and that, you know, helps when you have believable characters as well. Your main character, Wei Shen, you know, he's going through a lot being undercover, and I kind of wish the game kind of gave you more towards the end, like actually give you a choice of how to end it, side with, you know, the triads or side with the police, but they really just didn't decide to do that. But at the same time, I still felt like it was a AAA title, and definitely worthy of being on this countdown. I mean, the story was just excellent. I mean, what he was going through, you could really see the emotions, and it started to change him as a character, and that, you know, we really saw that throughout the game's story. And, you know, you kind of like these characters that you're hanging out with, and you started building relationships with them, and then it just turned out that, you know, you almost forgot who you were in an instance. You almost forgot that you were an undercover cop, and they really just handled that extremely well. So I want to thank Square Enix once again for getting this game out, first of all, because it's just awesome. So thank you to Square Enix. You guys did an exceptional job, and if there's any hope of there being another game after this, I doubt it, but there's still hope for DLC, which I'm really looking forward to. And it's just an overall good storyline. Number 5, Far Cry 3. Now I think everyone's going to be surprised that this game is, you know, that low on the list. I mean, I think everyone expected this game to be number 2 or number 1, but no. All right, no. I think the thing with Far Cry 3 is that, admit it, you had fun with Far Cry 3 because of Far Cry 3's gameplay, not because of its story. I mean, the story was great too, and that's why it's on here, but the main reason you had fun with Far Cry 3 was because of its gameplay, you know? And I thought that the story was, you know, again, really good. It had really amazing characters that were all unique, you know, and you really just felt like you were, you know, on this tropical jungle, basically surviving. And I just thought that they handled that really well. I mean, the story was just great. I mean, I like the story a lot. I don't think it was the number 1 absolute best, because I know the difference between having fun with gameplay and having fun with a story. You know, there's a difference. When a gameplay's so great, it just drives you to play forward because it's fun, all right? And when a story is so engaging, it drives you forward because it just is thrilling, and it keeps you on the edge of your seat. The gameplay can be as generic as possible, but the story's as extremely powerful, then you're going to want to keep playing, and that's why Spec Ops: The Line was on this list as well. Even though the gameplay is generic, the story itself is so powerful that you keep wanting to play through it. So, Far Cry 3, excellent storyline, excellent characters, just really well made, and just all the characters were really well developed. I was kind of worried because this game had multiple antagonists, and I was worried if one of them were going to feel, you know, like less developed, like underdeveloped in an instance. But no, they all handled it really well, surprisingly, and they just did a fantastic job with the story. So, and that's why it is on this list, of course, because it's one of the best this year. Number 4, Max Payne 3. So as an emotional storyline, this game is exhausting. Oh my god, what Max goes through as a character, you feel extremely bad for him. Now I know a lot of people, you know, probably going to say, oh, that's stupid. I don't know why it needs to be that high on the list, you know? But really, if you play games for stories, then you'll pretty much understand. The storyline, I thought, was just really excellent. I love the characters. I thought emotionally it did a good job at adding that emotional impact, and just Max felt really believable as a character, even though he can do all these superhuman jumps and see things in an instant second, you know? But he, as a character, I mean, this story was really built around him, and I felt that really powerful feeling of playing a character who, you know, who's been through a lot, who's been through an emotionally dramatic experience, and they just handled that extremely well with the storyline for this game. And you know, that's why I'm basically putting it on this list. I know a lot of you guys are gonna, you know, say, oh well, blah 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 this about Max Payne. I don't think it should be this high on the list, you know, but still, you're probably saying that because of Max Payne 3's gameplay, you know. But as a story game, this game just really delivered an emotionally exceptional experience, you know, especially for a character as badass as Max Payne, you know. So I really liked what they did with him as a character. They just made him feel more believable because of that. And, you know, knowing what he's been through, if you played all the other past Max Payne games, and you know, knowing what he's been through, it just further adds that depth to the storyline. Number 3, Mass Effect 3. So, even though Mass Effect's initial disappointing ending, I still can't doubt the powerful story that this game had throughout its series, alright? And now that we, you know, I really just, if the ending was handled a little bit better, I mean, it still instilled that emotional feeling inside of me. But if it was just handled better, like if it was really an ending based on your choices, if it was really an ending for you, then this game could have even been 2 or even number 1. But I just think that I didn't feel like my choices really did anything. I didn't feel like it had like that big impact. I saw the impact throughout the whole game, and at the end I was expecting this huge impact. But no, it was obvious that EA rushed this game out the door. They probably said to BioWare, hey, we need this out by March of, or when did it come out? Was it March of 2012 or something like that? Whenever it came out, I think it was. March of 2012. We need this game out by March 2012, and if you're not done, then fuck it. You know, we're releasing it anyway. I mean, that's probably what EA said to them, and it just sucks that developers, you know, if this game was given another year, like if this game actually came out in, like, you know, 2013, then it probably could have been a lot better. You probably could have seen a really nice, like, really character-driven story that was for the player, that was based on the player's choices and decisions. But I just, you know, I didn't see it, unfortunately, with the third and final installment to Commander Shepard's story, unfortunately. And now the developers are saying, oh, we're going to make another one for Mass Effect 4. And this is what my thing is. They're just milking the series. They are. You just keep milking that cow. That's what they're doing. They're just milking the cow constantly. They're getting every last drop out of this series. I'm sorry, but Mass Effect was built around Commander Shepard as a character. You can say, oh, it's a Mass Effect universe, but no. Mass Effect was always Commander Shepard. Commander Shepard was always Mass Effect, and it's not going to change that way. It's just not. I can't see it happening. Will I get Mass Effect 4 when it comes out? Probably, because I love the series, but I'm not expecting it to be nearly as emotionally engaging as my story, my personal relationship with Shepard. So that's Mass Effect 3 for you. Still, an excellent storyline, one that had emotional impacts throughout it completely, and one that you really felt like you were fighting a war. And for that, I give it number 3. Number 2, Hitman Absolution. Yes, I thought Hitman Absolution's story was amazing. I loved this game's story so much, and it also had great gameplay. This 20-hour campaign that I put myself through, I mean, I never wanted it to end. Excellent gameplay, excellent story. I mean, you can basically play for hours. I really felt like they took Agent 47 and they really turned him into a believable character, one that you can relate to, almost in a sense, but one that also had a personality that just seemed real. And because of that, you know, it just opened the doors for such a huge opportunity to create such a really, really, really great story, and a story that was different. You know, he's no longer working with the agency. He's quit himself. You know, he's on his own. He's a freelancer now, and you know, everyone's out to kill him, and he basically has this one job to protect this girl. And you know, it's almost like the girl is his daughter in a sense. You almost have that. You can almost see that relationship between them. And it's just really, really, really awesome, really interesting, just really amazing to watch. I love the cutscenes. All the characters did a really exceptionally well job at playing their roles and everything like that. It's just awesome, just absolutely awesome. So I loved Hitman Absolution's story. I just thought it was amazing, and I just can't wait to see where else they go with this series. Number 1, Binary Domain. What? What? Are you serious? What? Binary Domain? Of all the AAA titles that came out this year, you choose Binary Domain as number 1? Number 1? Number 1? Yeah, I do. I kept switching this game back and forth on the list between Hitman Absolution and Binary Domain. And I finally came to the conclusion, you know, because I was worried that people were going to take it the wrong way and everything like that. But I finally came to the conclusion that, yeah, this game is my number 1 best story game this year. The game that you didn't play. That's right, the game that you did not play. The game that you said you were going to play when a price drop happened, but the game that you just forgot about. Yes, Binary Domain is my number 1 pick. You want to know why? Excellent story, excellent characters. I mean, the game is just incredible. Twists that you can't even see coming, twists that just surprise the hell out of you and excite you and just blow your mind completely. A level of cinematography that you can only find in AAA games. A lot of, you know, really high quality AAA games. I mean, I'm sorry. This game's story was incredible with a capital I. And that is why I'm choosing it for number 1. The game that you didn't play. And it's a shame that everyone missed out on this game. You want to know how many copies this game sold? Only 20,000. Yes, this game sold 20,000 copies only. The developers of the Yakuza series said, hey, let's make a nice third-person action-adventure game, but let's put some RPG elements in there to change it up a bit. We'll also let you control your characters with commands and stuff like that. But let's make it for a Western audience. And you know what? They did a damn good job. The game that you didn't play. The game that you said you were going to buy, but you just completely forgot about. Yes. Binary Domain is my number 1 pick, no ifs, ands, or buts, for best story game this year. I mean, this game's story, filled with just plot twists and everything like that. Now, you probably played the demo, and you probably said, oh, it just seems like a generic third-person shooter. But I'm sorry, the story for this game, the demo doesn't even do it justice. The story for this game is so powerful, so emotionally impacting, that it reminds me of other games with, like Uncharted, like the Mass Effect series, where really you can see, you know, the characters really interact with each other, and it creates this emotional response. At the same time, the choices that you make throughout the game actually affect what's going on in the story. Alright? There's multiple endings, multiple things can happen during the story, and depending on how you treat your squad mates, since the game does have this system where you can, you know, say, hey, good job, or hey, thanks for backing me up, and so on and so forth. You know, teamwork's a really important role for this game. And it's the game that you didn't play. Unfortunately for you, you were not able to experience one of the best story-based games of all time. I'm honestly saying that. This game's, okay, well, maybe not all time, maybe that's exaggerating a little bit too much, but undoubtedly the best this year. This game was incredible. Incredible. I mean, I'm sorry, that twist at the very end, the last level, when you finally learn about, you know, whose side you're really on here, I mean, the twist is insane. You say to yourself, oh, I see where this is going. I can see the ending a mile away. I know exactly what's gonna happen, right? And the game says, no, you don't. And it does a complete 180. It says, wow. It basically says to your face, hey, look, Here's a twist that you didn't see coming. We led you to believe that this was going to happen, but guess what? It didn't happen. This happened instead, and you could never have even guessed that it would have happened. I'm so fed up with everyone choosing games like, you know, saying it's basically saying this. I'm sorry, IGN gave this a 7.5. What? I mean, this game alone deserves nothing short of a 9, in my opinion, in terms of story. All right. And it's pretty clear that when you give this game, a game like this, a low score of 7.5, pretty mediocre, okay? Let's not say low, but pretty mediocre score, pretty average, you would say. You know that the developers, the critics of this game, people from IGN, people from GameSpot, and so on and so forth, are not into story games. They play games for fun. I just want to have fun. I just want it to be different. I want to go play a nice third-person shooter. I don't care about the story and how my choices affect the story. I don't care about the story whatsoever. What a bunch of idiots. How this game scored anything below an 8.5 is beyond me. I'm sorry. But yes, this game is number 1. And guess what? You all should go buy it now, because it's like 20 bucks. 20 bucks, you're going to get an 8 to 10 hour campaign that's going to be absolutely amazing from start to finish. I tried to get my friends to play this too, my best friends. I tried to get them to play this. And they said, all you're doing is killing robots. Well, how is that any different from killing the 3 same generic NPC/AI that keep recurring in games like Gears of War, Uncharted? It's the same exact 3 people, but because I guess they're real people, that makes it different. This game has an amazing destruction system where if you shoot the robots, you can see parts flying off of them. Some of them stay on the screen as well. If you shoot it's kind of like Dead Space. You shoot their leg off, they're going to keep crawling at you. Just incredible. Incredible attention to detail. Great graphics. Great graphics all around. Excellent level design. The character models are really highly detailed as well. A lot of people are going to say, well, the characters seem like generic mop-ups. At first, they appear like that. But then as you start to play, you start to really delve into their personalities. And they become unique. Like, really unique. And you start to like these characters because even though, yes, a British guy is named Charlie, and he's like the MI6, very serious person. You have Dan, your main character that you play as, who's all like, hey, man, yeah, I'm just gonna go fuck shit up because I'm so good at, being the survivor, and I'm America, fuck yeah, all that stuff, right? And that's what you think. But as you start to play through the game, these characters' personalities start to really develop, and it's such an engaging storyline, something so deep and something so complex that from a game like this, you wouldn't even expect it to be that, rich with complexity and character development. Exactly what I said at the beginning of this. It's absolutely incredible. Yes, the game that I'm choosing for number 1 is the one that you didn't play. And therefore, because I know 95% of you who are watching this didn't play this game, you can't say shit. You can't say shit because anything you say that has to do with, oh, I don't think this game deserves number 1, you didn't play the game. And anyone who did play this game, there's no possible way that you cannot put this at least on your top 10 if you're talking about story games. If you want to do Game of the Year, that's a little bit different because the game's gameplay, even though, it does some stuff mix up, it's very similar to Gears of War. You can control your character depending on your relationship between them. That's fine. But because the story is so powerful, similar to Spec Ops: The Line where it had generic third-person shooter gameplay, but because the story is so powerful, you can basically, the word repetition never comes to mind because you just want to find out what happens next. I love Binary Domain. I'm giving it number 1, and I'm not taking it back. I'm not taking it back at all. It's the game that you didn't play. It's the game that you should get up off your ass, go right now to GameStop, go to Amazon.com. I don't give a shit where you buy your games from, but go ahead and buy this game. It's 20 bucks now for an amazing 8 to 10 hour campaign experience. It has competitive multiplayer, but no one plays that multiplayer anymore. It's kind of like tacked on. This game was built from the ground up to be a story game, and it exceeded and delivered on everyone's expectations. At least I would think, So Binary Domain, number 1 best story game, the game that you didn't play, the game that should have sold freaking 12 times as many copies. It's a shame. Like, people complain, oh, Bayonetta 2's going to the Wii U. This sucks. But You guys don't buy the games anyway. Stop complaining about sequels and stuff. Oh, they're going over to exclusive. Nintendo said, hey, we'll cough up the money so you can get another chance at making a great Bayonetta experience, alright? That's Nintendo's problem. I don't care if it's a Wii U exclusive. I'll go buy a Wii U right now just to play Bayonetta 2 because it was a great game. And I'm thankful, you guys should all be thankful for Nintendo that coughed up the money for them to develop this game, because if it was any other developer, what was it, Sega before? I don't think Sega would have even with the sales numbers that Bayonetta had, wouldn't even considered the game for a sequel. And like Binary Domain, we're never going to see a sequel of this game. And if we are, I'm going to be so damn surprised if it's a Nintendo exclusive. Boom. This is a system-selling game for me for that. Binary Domain, #1 choice. Shut the fuck up. Stop. You never played this game. Any argument you have is invalid because of that.
Man, how I love story games. Well, we are now 90% through our award show. But in anticipation for 2013, let's take a look at the games I'm looking forward to, personally.
Number 5, Remember Me. Alright, so yes, I know this game doesn't have a release date, but it has a release window, spring 2013. I'm personally excited for this game. You all know that I just love the futuristic era, you know, that whole futuristic sci-fi, cyberpunk, whatever you want to call it. I love that that whole just time period. Well, I can't really say time period. Well, I guess I can, but you know, I just like that whole art direction. I love seeing what developers can do like with the future. And I'm really, really excited for Remember Me, because it looks to have a really, really, really good story here. I don't know if the game's open world or not. I really just don't know too much. But even so, the story looks to be something almost unique in a sense. You know, you're remixing memories. So it's pretty unique in that perspective. You have a pretty much an interesting character. Here she is. Her name's Neelan or something. I forgot her name. Excuse me. But you know, she's sort of this, you know, very mysterious girl. You really don't know much about her. But I'm really interested in the gameplay, because it seems to kind of combine like the Uncharted platforming with like the Assassin's Creed free running along with like the Batman Arkham City combat, you know, for what you can do. And I'm just really, yeah, Nilan, okay. I'm just really, really, really interested to see where this game will take us. You know, it's by Capcom, so, you know, I think we all hate Capcom here. But still, I'm really interested in the game. I think it's looking great. I love the art direction. I've been following them on Facebook, and they've just been posting up some really unique art pictures as of late, and they're really, really incredible, like what the concept artists can do with the world. So I'm really excited for whenever this comes out. I think IGN has it listed for like a late June release, but the developers did say spring 2013. So that is rather exciting. I cannot, this is definitely like one of my most top 5 anticipation, because I'm just really interested to see how the game plays. It just really looks awesome, and to see, you know, how I can immerse myself further in this rather futuristic dystopian universe. So really excited for Remember Me. Number 4, The Last of Us. So if you play games for their story, you know, like myself, then there is no possible way that this can't be on your list. You know, coming from Naughty Dog, you know, a lot of people are like, oh, you know, because really it's been 2 years, or it's been actually a year, but really this year, at the end of this year, you know, I guess we should be expecting another Uncharted, even though it's not going to happen. What Naughty Dog, I think, is doing is they're taking a break from Uncharted, which I really think is a good idea, because Uncharted 2 and Uncharted 3, they felt like they came out really close together, and I really felt like if Uncharted 3 came out, you know, first, if Uncharted 3's story was Uncharted 2 and everything like that, then that game would have scored much higher than having Uncharted 2 come out first. But whatever, I mean, it is what it is. I love the Uncharted series. I love Naughty Dog with their story games completely. I mean, they really build it around the character, and a lot of people, you know, may say, oh, it looks like a generic zombie shooter game. And it's supposed to be a survival game. Alright, it is a survival game. We haven't seen that genre really appear, you know? I mean, it's been kind of absent, so it's nice to see that Naughty Dog is doing, you know, kind of bringing that genre back, because I really think they do have something unique here. Post-apocalyptic, society, but it's all beautiful, lush jungle, everything's overgrown. They actually, the story of the game, well, not really the story, but the environment and everything, it was all inspired by this book called The World Without Us. And actually, when I bought this book, I didn't finish reading it. I kind of read it, and I kind of just stopped. But maybe sometime I'll get back to that book. But it's really just incredible. So if you're really excited for The Last of Us, you should get the book, The World Without Us. It basically talks about what would happen to the world if humans were to suddenly disappear. And, you know, and all life actually disappear. What would happen to the world, like, if our cities were all today, what happens if tomorrow every single life form would just disappear? And it talks about how the environment would affect the cities and how, you know, water would like take over a huge part and so on and so forth, and how everything would be overgrown. It's a really interesting concept for a book, but I'm just really excited. You know, Naughty Dog said that it's not based so much around the zombie apocalypse or the infection or whatever you want to call it, but it's more based around Ellie and Joel's relationship, which I think is really going to help nail this emotional impact. So I can't wait. It's coming out May 7th, which is just awesome. I cannot wait for this game to come out. I'm excited to experience its story, and you should too, unless you play games for their gameplay experience solely. You know, let's actually grow up here. Let's be mature people, and let's play. Let's actually want to experience something unique. But I'm really excited for The Last of Us, and really mainly because of its story. Number 3, Grand Theft Auto 5. So I know this is probably everyone's number 1 pick. However, it is not mine. What I will like to say is that, you know, I really enjoyed Grand Theft Auto 4, and I know a lot of people, you know, who played the previous Grand Theft Auto games are probably going to say they like the, you know, Grand Theft Auto San Andreas the best. I think it's pretty much agreed upon that that was like the best Grand Theft Auto. I never played any of the Grand Theft Autos before 4. I mean, 4 was the first one I played. It was my first experience with the GTA game. So naturally, I liked what I got. With Grand Theft Auto 5, you know, I'm really, really, really excited to see, you know, they're finally doing 3. They're doing 3 protagonists, and from all the, you know, everyone talking about it's pretty much going to be like Google Earth. You're going to be popping out of someone's view and going into someone else's view. And if they nail that, like seamless transitions between characters just like that, I think, technologically speaking, Grand Theft Auto 5 is going to be a masterpiece. I'm still really excited to delve into the world. Like I said, it's huge. Red Dead Redemption, Liberty City, and San Andreas combined, and you would still have room left over. I mean, this world is huge. I live about 30 minutes from Los Angeles, so this is going to be interesting for me to see exactly how they do it with the real-world depiction, you know. But I've seen some pictures. They got Venice Beach in there called Vespucci Beach, you know, and they got all that, you know, all that cool stuff in there. So I'm really excited to see what they do in terms of the story. I think it's going to be fantastic, and technologically speaking, I think it's just going to be incredible. So I'm really excited to delve into really the true HD Grand Theft Auto game. You know, Rockstar said it took them a while for them to get used to Grand Theft Auto 4 because that was their first iteration for HD consoles. I think it's going to be much more, it's going to be handled much more better for Grand Theft Auto 5. Number 2, Tomb Raider. So if this is not on your list, then you probably haven't been gaming for very long. I can't imagine how this cannot be on someone's list. I mean, I hate all these people that say things like, oh, this is trying to be Uncharted. Why is it trying to be Uncharted? Why? Why? It's just like Uncharted. Let me get you straight here, right? For those of you who don't know the history of Tomb Raider released in the 90s, okay? 15 years before Uncharted was even thought of, you know, even released. It was released in the 90s. It was a PlayStation exclusive. So let me get this straight. This game was Uncharted for PlayStation for a long time. It became multi-platform. PlayStation didn't even want this game, you know. If you know the history of Tomb Raider, that's all, you know, that's just all history. But I'm really excited to see what they do because I really think that Tomb Raider needed a gameplay change most of all. That was like a huge thing. People keep saying, oh, it's just like Uncharted. It's not an action-adventure game. It's more of a survival game. I mean, it has a lot of action-adventure elements, but they're basically touting it as a survival game. But I guess you can call it an action-adventure if you really wanted to. But it is really, they are trying to do a survival game. I just think it's going to be much more action-oriented, more like a action-adventure game, but whatever. Still, I'm excited for this game's story. Finally, Laura, you know, this is going to be showing her origins. I think Tomb Raider needed a reboot desperately. I think the old double pistols gameplay was starting to get really old now, and with Tomb Raider Underworld, it just didn't really play as nice, and it wasn't really nearly as snappy as Tomb Raider Legend. So I'm really excited to see what they do for the core gameplay change. I think Lara really needed it, and I'm just super, super, super excited. I love Tomb Raider. I've been a fan of it for a while. I started, my first Tomb Raider game I played was Legend. All right, back on the PS2. It was actually the first Tomb Raider released for HD consoles. It was an Xbox on Xbox 360. But if you haven't, you know, all these people, you haven't basically been gaming for a while if you don't know what Tomb Raider is, or if you've never played a Tomb Raider game. I mean, it's just one of those games, one of those iconic games that every gamer's played once in their lives. And I'm just super excited for Tomb Raider. Thankfully, you know, it's got a great new gameplay change. I think it's going to turn out fantastic. Really, really cool, realistic art style to it, and the graphics look nice. I just think it's going to turn out really, really, really beautifully. So I'm excited to see what they do for Tomb Raider releases in March. It's coming pretty quickly here, so I'm like really excited. And well, if you're into story games, or if you've been a long time gamer, then there's no way that you're not going to pick this game up. So that is Tomb Raider. Number 1, BioShock Infinite. So I think this, again, this is one of those games I think everyone's going to choose, but if you played the first BioShock, then, you know, this is super, super exciting. I love the first BioShock. It was one of those games that I kind of considered it a horror game. A lot of people say it's like a first-person shooter, but I considered it more of a horror game, the first BioShock that was. And I was not, I'm not really into horror games, but a good game's a good game, you know? So, I mean, I was just really, like, BioShock was an experience it's just one of those experiences where it just sticks with you for the rest of your life, you know? And in terms of being a gamer, it's one of those games that's the reason why you play games, because of games like the first BioShock. And I'm just super excited for BioShock Infinite. I think, you know, they finally have a character who actually talks, you know, he's not as quiet as the first one. The first one, you know, you really didn't know who you were, but for this, you know, I guess I can kind of call it a sequel. I mean, BioShock 2 was developed by the guys who made Dishonored, and I thought BioShock 2 wasn't nearly, didn't really do that well in terms of, well, it didn't really impress me like the first BioShock did. But with BioShock Infinite, it's finally the original developers here. They've been doing a lot of switching around. A lot of people went from Naughty Dog, went over to Irrational Games, and a lot of people from Irrational Games, did they go over to, I think they went over to Naughty Dog or to Epic Games. There was like a lot of studio switching went around. So I'm interested to see if that has anything to do to affect the game. But I'm really, really, really interested for this game's story. I think the character you're going to be playing as is going to be much more relatable because he's going to be chatting and, you know, he's finally going to have a personality. It's the same voice actor as the guy who's playing Joel in The Last of Us. So, Troy Baker, I think his name is. So, you know, we're going to have like two months of like Troy Baker in terms of games, so, which is fine, you know. He seems like a pretty cool guy in terms of voice acting. But I'm just really, really super excited for BioShock Infinite. I think the story's going to be incredible, and I really am liking the new locale. I mean, up in the sky, it's gorgeous, and the way the colors are just so vibrant, it's incredible. So BioShock Infinite, definitely number 1 on my most anticipated games list. It's coming out at the end of March. Let's cross our fingers that it doesn't get delayed again, because it just seems that this game will not come out, and it's just one of those games. But you know what? I'd rather wait. I'd rather, you know, have the game be delayed than have it come out with flaws. You know what I'm saying? I'd rather it be perfect, and I'd rather wait, you know, months and months and months for the game to come out and finally be flawless, instead of, you know, having it released and having, you know, all these problems with glitches and bugs and whatnot. So BioShock Infinite, number 1. I am super pumped for it. Can't wait. Got my premium edition pre-order. I didn't get the Songbird edition because I just wasn't really, you know, feeling it. But that's it.
So that's it. I hope all of you enjoyed 2012 as a gaming year just as much, if not more, than I did. Yes, you and I had our differences of opinions, but that's what's great about gaming. So many people play, and people's opinions are so varied now that it's a wonder how someone can take another's personal word for something as fact. I wish all of you a great 2013 gaming year. As rumors tell us it may be the last of this generation, let's enjoy it while it lasts. Good night, and good luck. Thanks, guys.
Come touch me like I'm an ordinary man. Have a look in my eyes. Underneath my skin there is a violence. It's got a gun in its hands, ready to make ready to make sense of anyone, anything, anyone, anything, anyone, anything, anyone, anything, anyone, anything. Black holes living in the side of your face, razor wire spinning around you, around you, around you, around. Blistering sky, blistering sky, blistering sky. Bullets on the beauty of the blistering sky. Bullets on the beauty and I don't know why. Bullets on the beauty of the blistering sky. Bullets on the beauty and I don't know why. Personal responsibility, personal responsibility, personal responsibility.